you're going to boxing. So how did this whole thing happen?
So when it first came into it, I've always wanted to box. I wasn't allowed to box. I wasn't allowed to fight. Growing up, my dad was like, "You're going to be playing sports. You're going to go to college. You're going to get your education. You can figure out what you want to do. But I'm not going to pay for your education. You're going to have to be good enough to get your scholarships."
What happens when a veteran finally breaks his curse? A rivalry ends not with more bad blood, but with a beer, and the entire MMA world can't stop talking about what went down. That's exactly what happened during one of the wildest fight nights in recent memory. The spotlight fell on two moments that nobody saw coming: Luke Rockhold suffering a knockout loss before squashing his beef with Darren Till, and Tony Ferguson finally snapping a painful losing streak that had fans questioning if his career was over. The way the community reacted to both stories shows just how unpredictable this sport can be. One night gave us redemption, heartbreak, and even a few shocking twists outside the cage that had everyone buzzing. By the end, people weren't just talking about the winners and losers. They were debating stoppages, cheering unlikely comebacks, and even laughing at memes that spread like wildfire. But beneath all the noise, there's a bigger picture, a reminder that in MMA, nothing stays the same for long.
Oh! And again he's landing, over and over. Oh, shit! Pappy's in trouble. Oh! He stops the fight. Tony Ferguson wins in round 3. Bit of an early stoppage, I will say that. Well done to Tony Ferguson.
Legends rise, rivals shake hands, and sometimes the chaos behind the curtain is just as wild as the action in the ring. Tony Ferguson's journey to this moment was almost unbelievable. For years, fans watched him as one of the most dangerous lightweights in the world, a fighter who could slice through opponents with elbows, knees, and wild pressure that felt unstoppable. He wasn't just winning, he was dominating, putting together one of the longest win streaks in lightweight history. He became interim champion, and many thought he was the man who could finally take down Khabib Nurmagomedov. But fate had other plans. A freak knee injury pulled him from his scheduled fight with Khabib, and from there, the decline began. Like a switch flipped, his career spiraled into an 8-fight losing streak. Each loss was harder to watch than the last. He went from being El Cucuy, the boogeyman of the division, to a shadow of himself. Fans who once saw him as unstoppable began to wonder if they were watching the end of a legend. The critics grew louder, saying he was too old, too damaged, and no longer dangerous. But then came his fight against Saul Poppy at Misfits 22. At first, it looked like the same old story. Poppy landed clean punches and seemed confident, moving around Tony's forward pressure. But in the third round, everything changed. Ferguson, who never stopped moving forward, poured on a furious combination.
3 reasons why I beat Saul Poppy. 1, it pissed me off already. A lot of fighters, when they go and they fight me, they usually don't say shit. 2, I'm hungry. I haven't been hungry in a long time.
The referee jumped in to stop it, and just like that, Tony had his first win in over 6 years. Some fans thought the stoppage came too early, but none could deny the raw emotion when Tony dropped to his knees, overcome with relief. It wasn't just another fight, it was a man clawing his way out of the darkest chapter of his career, and everyone watching felt that moment deep. The MMA community exploded with reactions the second the fight ended. For some, it was pure joy. They had waited years to see Tony's hand raised again, and the victory felt like a throwback to when he was at his peak. Social media lit up with posts of support. BJ Penn simply said, "Way to go, Tony," but that short message carried the weight of one legend saluting another. Analyst Luke Thomas said the stoppage felt early, but even he couldn't deny how well Tony had been doing. The MMA guru gushed about how emotional it was to see Tony collapse in tears, saying it was the kind of moment that made all the years of waiting worth it.
And 3, I get to put shoes on, which is amazing because I wrestled my whole entire life, and MMA is just a little bit kind of funky with everything missing, so I like my shoes on and my shorts baggy.
Mark Goddard, one of the sport's most respected referees, even tweeted that he was just glad Tony got out unscathed, then suggested a potential matchup against Dillon Danis next. Terrence McKinney called Tony the GOAT, while others like Tom Taylor admitted they never thought they'd see him win again. Fans posted clips of his post-fight reaction, calling it one of the most emotional sights in recent MMA history. Yes, the fight had controversy, and yes, some still questioned whether Tony was back, but for one night, none of that mattered. For those who had stuck by him through the losses, this win wasn't about titles or rankings, it was about watching a fighter they loved finally smile again. But while Ferguson's win pulled at heartstrings, another fighter stole headlines in a completely different way. Dillon Danis, a name that always seems to bring drama, returned to action after years away.
Dylan, yes. You just got to win in 6 seconds. Talk to me.
6 seconds?
6 seconds?
I told you, I'm a different level. You know, I'll kill Islam, Cosmo. I'm saying this since the beginning. I'm a different level, bro. I don't care. At the end of the day, I offered to fight anybody. There was, it was Masvidal, it was Diaz, it was this, it was that, but everybody was scared.
Known as much for his antics outside the cage as his skills inside it, Danis hadn't fought since 2019. During that time, he had become a magnet for controversy, starting feuds with big names, dropping wild statements online, and constantly keeping his name in the news without ever actually competing. Many believed he was all talk, that his fighting days were behind him, but at Misfits 22, he stepped back into the cage and silenced some doubters in a hurry. His fight lasted only 15 seconds. The moment it began, Danis wasted no time, dragging his opponent down and locking in a slick submission. Just like that, the fight was over. The crowd erupted, shocked not only by the speed of the win, but by the fact that Danis was actually backing up his words for once. He then shared an intense face-off with strongman-turned-fighter Eddie Hall, teasing a bizarre but intriguing future matchup. And then came the post-fight interview, where Danis did what he does best: talk. He claimed the UFC needed him because it was lacking stars. He said the entire event had been carried by his presence alone. He boldly called out Kevin Holland, Islam Makhachev, and even said he was ready for anyone in the top 10 right away. To some, it was delusional arrogance.
Anybody, I've been saying this, it doesn't matter who was out there tonight, it would have been the same thing. It would have been 6 seconds, it could have been 10 seconds. I'm on a different level, and I know that from the beginning. That's the reason these guys don't want to fight me.
To others, it was exactly the kind of chaos the UFC thrives on. Love him or hate him, Danis had reminded everyone that he knows how to get the MMA world buzzing. While Danis stirred controversy with bold statements, another fight had a build-up fueled by raw tension. Luke Rockhold and Darren Till had exchanged heated words leading up to Misfits 22, with fans expecting nothing short of a war inside the ring. The lead-up was ugly. They clashed at press conferences, jawed at each other in interviews, and promised destruction. By fight night, the bad blood felt real. When the bell rang, Till came forward aggressively, pressuring Rockhold against the ropes and refusing to let him breathe. Rockhold tried to fire back, but the pace wore on him. By the third round, he looked exhausted and vulnerable. That's when Till landed the shot of the night, a brutal left hand that sent Rockhold crashing down.
Thank you. Fighting. Thank you, UFC. Thank you, Joe. Can't do this anymore.
The knockout was sudden, violent, and shocking. Many thought the rivalry would explode even further after such a decisive ending. Instead, fans got the opposite. Moments later, Rockhold and Till shared a handshake and even a beer, squashing the beef in a show of respect that nobody expected. Rockhold later posted a photo of the moment, captioning it with, "T happens. It's all love. All the best to you, brother." For a fighter known for his fiery temper, Rockhold's humility and defeat struck fans. It was proof that sometimes in MMA, the fiercest rivalries can end with respect, even in the aftermath of brutal knockouts. But not every encounter that night ended with peace. In the backstage area, chaos erupted after Nathan Marin, frustrated from his controversial doctor stoppage loss earlier in the evening, crossed paths with Raheem Pardesi. Pardesi had won his own fight earlier, and according to reports, made a disrespectful remark as Marin walked by. Already heated from his own disappointment, Marin snapped. Words quickly turned to shoves, and within seconds, the two men were brawling. Security and fighters scrambled to separate them, but by then the scene had spiraled out of control. Clips of the altercation spread online, adding to the night's madness. Fans debated endlessly, was Pardesi out of line for taunting Marin, or was Marin wrong for losing control? Either way, it was another reminder that emotions in combat sports run hot, and not all the fights stay in the cage. The brawl didn't end with respect or beers, it ended with both men being pulled apart, still shouting at each other. It was yet another wild chapter in a night that already felt like a roller coaster. Meanwhile, outside the spotlight of Misfits 22, another star was preparing for a huge challenge. Alex Pereira, the former kickboxing champion turned UFC champion, was training hard for his rematch against Magomed Ankalaev. Critics had long said that Pereira's weakness was his wrestling, pointing to past fights where grapplers had exposed his ground game, but newly released footage from his training camp told a different story. In the video, Pereira faced a rotation of training partners, each shooting for takedowns one after the other. Time and time again, Pereira stuffed the attempts, sprawling with power and showing surprising improvement. Fans immediately noticed. If Pereira's takedown defense had truly leveled up, it could completely change the narrative of his rematch. Ankalaev was dangerous on the ground, but if Pereira could keep the fight standing, his world-class striking would be the difference. Social media buzzed with speculation. Some said the footage was staged, just highlight reels meant to hype him up. Others believed Pereira was genuinely evolving into a more complete fighter. Regardless, the clips gave fans another storyline to debate as UFC 320 approached. It was proof that even the best strikers know they have to adapt to survive at the highest level. But the most shocking story of the week didn't come from the octagon or the boxing ring. It came from the fallout of a violent incident involving Raja Jackson, son of MMA legend Rampage Jackson. A video circulated showing Raja brutally attacking another fighter, Psycho Stu, in an incident many described as senseless and vicious. The footage was hard to watch, and calls for Raja's arrest spread almost immediately. Fans flooded social media with outrage, tagging the LAPD and demanding action. Police had already said they were investigating the case as felony battery, but days passed without an arrest. Critics accused the system of favoritism, saying if Raja wasn't Rampage's son, he'd already be behind bars. Some labeled it attempted murder, pointing to the video as undeniable evidence. Meanwhile, Rampage himself didn't seem too concerned. He continued streaming online, even joking about changing his identity after receiving threats. At one point, he compared himself to celebrities and laughed about the whole situation. For fans, it was infuriating. How could something so serious be treated so casually? The controversy grew larger by the day, turning into a symbol of how chaotic and messy the fight world can be, even outside the cage. As heavy as all that drama was, the MMA community still found ways to laugh. Within hours of Misfits 22 ending, memes flooded social media. Fans took screenshots, edited clips, and made hilarious posts about the night's craziest moments. One meme mocked the referee's quick stoppage in Tony Ferguson's fight, another exaggerated Luke Rockhold's beer moment with Darren Till, and a third played on Dillon Danis calling himself the UFC's next big star. They spread fast, popping up across Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. Memes are part of the culture now. They turn fights into inside jokes that fans can share long after the event ends. For those who didn't watch live, the memes gave them a taste of what they missed. For those who saw every second, they offered a lighter way to relive it all. After so much tension, controversy, and emotion, the humor helps bring fans together. It reminded everyone that no matter how serious the fights get, MMA is also about entertainment, community, and sometimes just having a laugh at the madness. When the dust finally settled, the night stood out as one of the most chaotic yet unforgettable in recent memory. Tony Ferguson clawed his way back into the win column, proving that even after years of defeat, redemption is possible. Dillon Danis reminded the world that controversy and charisma can be just as powerful as skill, especially when backed by a quick finish. Luke Rockhold showed humility after a devastating knockout, squashing his beef with Darren Till in a way nobody saw coming. But the night wasn't just about fights. The backstage brawl, Alex Pereira's training, the Raja Jackson controversy, and the flood of memes painted a picture of a sport that is as unpredictable outside the cage as it is inside. That's what makes MMA so different. It's never just about who won or lost. It's about the stories, the rivalries, the controversies, and the moments that make fans argue, laugh, and cheer long after the fights are over. If one night could deliver all this, then it leaves only one question. What shocking twists will the next event bring?